Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Wealth Edit Wednesday. Lauren and I are super excited about having Camille Collins today as our guest. And Camille has been, ever since the moment we launched in New Orleans, Camille, you were like one of the number one people that everyone recommended that we talk to. So we are just thrilled to have you and thank you. Camille is Director of Marketing and Communications for Commander's Palace and the other restaurants included in that group. Is that correct? Yes. So she's got a big job, and not only is it a big job, it's an interesting one, and with a franchise, a group that we all know and love. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your story.
Yes.
Well, I'm very excited to be here, and for those of you who don't know, Commander's Palace, we're located in New Orleans, Louisiana, and the other restaurants in our group are Sobu, which is in the French Quarter, and Picnic Provisions and Whiskey, which is uptown. So we have some exciting things that we're working on as well for 2022. So maybe we'll have some more to add next year.
That's awesome. Well, if you have not been to Commander's, it is a treat. It feels so special and celebratory, and it's just, you can't even describe what it feels like unless you just go. So I know you're part of that experience. So anyway.
Yes,
it is. I think celebratory is the word that really comes to mind for everyone when they describe Commanders, and that's what we love. We love to hear. We strive to really make every guest feel special, and we like to use the terminology surprise and delight, because you know, whether you're celebrating a birthday, anniversary, or you're just in for a lunch with girlfriends, there should always be some fun and festive surprises, and hoping that our guests leave delighted. So
yeah, I love that. Well, I have a 17-year-old who's dying to come to New Orleans, and she wants to eat at Commander's Palace. And I think, you know, it just is like it epitomizes like New Orleans too. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, it's just, it captures everything, the excitement and the fun and the celebration that's in the air all the time. So I just love that part of Commander's Palace. And so Camille, I would love for you to just start off by sharing with everyone a little bit of your story and, you know, how you got to where you are today.
Sure. So I was born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I moved on to Ole Miss for college. I always had an affinity for food. I think it's just one of those things, being from South Louisiana. My dad cooked, my grandparents cooked, and so it was something that was always interesting to me. I like to cook personally, but I really didn't start out in food. I started out in event planning, and I was working on my master's in arts administration, and kind of figured out that you don't make a lot of money in nonprofits. So kind of switched over to the for-profit side of event planning and fundraising and things like that, and worked for a international destination management company, and was fortunate enough to stay with them through Katrina, and moved to Hawaii, Las Vegas, and San Francisco, and worked in those markets in hospitality. I really enjoyed it. I'm a creative at heart. And so, you know, really enjoyed selling those cities and creating events and dinners and special times meetings for our clients. But New Orleans really has always had a special place in my heart. So I did come back and took the opportunity to further explore my natural love of food, and took a job as Director of Business Development for Chef Paul Prudhomme and his Magic Seasoning Blends. So that was really my first foray into food and the food world, and specialty food really is what makes me tick. And I had the good fortune when moving to New York to go to work for Le Trois Petits Cochons, the oldest specialty food pâté and charcuterie company in the United States. and was with them for 8 years, lived in DC, then kind of made my way down the Eastern Seaboard back to New Orleans. I just can't get away from this place. It's really, in my blood. So was fortunate enough to be with them, having 2 kids along the way and returning back to family. Just kind of wanted to have some deeper roots here in New Orleans. So made the switch to restaurants, which if anybody was wondering, thinking, oh, specialty food to restaurants, it's not going to be that big of a deal. It's, they're so similar. No, they're not. And so that kind of really put my marketing skills to a test. But it was a really good experience for me to switch into restaurants here in New Orleans. And again, the food, it's hard to miss. And so now at Commanders, I'm actually getting to do both of my favorite things, which is restaurants and specialty food. We have launched during COVID, one of our pivots, which I think that's like the most overused word of 2020 and 2021. But we love it nonetheless. Two of our pivots was moving into specialty food and also out of brick and mortar. So we're also selling through Gold Valley.
That's awesome.
So now both of my food worlds are colliding, and it's really a treat to work for an established brand that has a lot of plans for growth. So
that's unbelievable. Well, y'all have such a great brand, and it's special. I think I'm just fascinated by brands right now because people do not, they have a weird distrust of very large brands, but it feels like brands in the Commander space are still, I hate to keep using this word, but like celebrated, admired. And I just love that. I think it's interesting that you say that you pivoted because we've watched so many female entrepreneurs through the Wealth Edit pivot during COVID last year. Everybody's business shut down, and we're not that far away from that. But when you think about it too, those times are going to come again. And we have this worksheet in the Wealth Edit where you can recession test your business, your small business. And I remember being on this retreat with 3 or I think it was 4 of my other friends who were female entrepreneurs. And we really pushed each other and said, what would happen if business was down like 50%? Like, what would you do? And it was such odd timing because 2 of them were in food and beverage. And then the pandemic happened like 3 months after we went on this little retreat. And so I think it's just good for us always to be thinking that way, just so we're calm amidst the storm, or we have the mental margin to really think about, well, what happens next? Like, what can I do next? And that's sort of, again, we have this coursework through. We've just done a lot of work in this space because it can be such an impactful time for business when something bad happens, or unexpected, maybe not bad, because it can be a hidden blessing, like being in Gold Valley, which now I can't believe we get to order your stuff from here. So,
well, I think it's really true. It's always wonderful to, see what you've planned and known for a really long time thrive. And, 2019 was the best year most New Orleans businesses had. Commanders also was in that boat. And so 2020 was a pretty big hit, obviously. But, being resourceful and having really good community partners and business partners, Krista Cotton, which is how I found out about the Wealth Edit, is one of our wonderful partners. And she is the reason why, we're able to sell our cocktail mixers, and has been very supportive in our endeavor for that. So I think that always having those plan B, C, and D's in your back pocket is absolutely a necessity, especially in this world where it's just so fast changing and you never know what's coming around the corner.
Yeah.
I know Krista has been such a great connector for Lauren and I know for so many others, and she has been a wonderful addition to the Wealth Edit and is a
Good
dear
friend.
friend now.
Yeah.
And, kind of when you bring that up, I know how y'all are friends, and just, when we first came into New Orleans, it was very different entering into New Orleans looking for women, business owners, entrepreneurs. And what I found there was just this amazing community of women, of creative women,
Totally.
who are like strong and ready to, take on the task as it comes, because I guess every New Orleans resident, I feel like, needs to be like ready for change at any given moment. It seems to always be something going on. But, tell me a little bit about y'all's community of women there, because it just seems like y'all have an amazing support group with each other.
I think that's really true. New Orleans has this magical way about it. We all know it has its challenges as well, but there is something very unique about the people who live here. We are very attached to our culture, to our food, to our parties. And so I think it's just those things that connect us. We share meals with neighbors and friends and family, and we party together. It's there's always something going on that's bringing people together. And we are probably the smallest city in the United States, but it still feels like a big city, but it's still quite small. So we get the opportunity to see people more often. When I lived in New York, I lived downtown, and my best friend lived on the Upper East Side. And it was just like, oh my gosh, I have to go all the way up there, or oh my gosh, I have to come all the way down there. And it was literally, like a 7-mile island. So we're really lucky that we are able to easily connect with one another, and, finding other women in this crazy world, that are doing similar things or making changes in our community is really inspiring. Krista being one of them. I know you guys are coming down to do the pop-up at Sucre, and Aisha, I have actually never really spoken with her before. Our kids go to school together, so just having more opportunities like that to connect with people, because sometimes life gets in the way, kids, work, Hurricane Ida, things like that.
Yeah.
It's very special though. And the Krista and I are also in a all female culinary group, La Dame d'Escoffier. It's an international organization. And so it's also very empowering to be in a room full of women that are engaged and driven and really at the top of their craft. And so there's always something going on, but certainly looking forward to meeting others and welcoming more people to the group.
Well, it feels like that's what happens with women, is like, and I think New Orleans is the perfect city to model after for community, because it is, you naturally run into people because it's small enough, but big enough where you don't know everybody. And that's really what we're trying to do at the Wealth Edit. What I always felt when I was building my business was that I was kind of on an island without a bridge, and there were other women that were also on islands without bridges. And so it's nice to have places that you can connect, but community has been really tough. I feel like as we're emerging, hopefully, knock on wood, from a pandemic, I think people are used to sort of not getting together. Even things like if you're a churchgoer, you're not going to church as much anymore. I used to be I guess I'm still a Rotarian, but I haven't been to Rotary in forever. And it used to be just part of my weekly cadence. I don't know. So I wonder if you have any thoughts on like community building, because I do think that Commanders is a community, people love to go there, and y'all have built that as a place where people come together, and New Orleans is good at that. I don't know if you have any additional thoughts on community building. post-pandemic?
Yeah, I think New Orleanians and really Louisianians, I think we have this ability to make a comeback.
Yeah.
I think in general, Americans are this way as well. We just happen to have really good experience at it because of the numerous amount of hurricanes and things that happen down here. So we just have more practice. Community is extremely important. I have seen it, not only, like you said, here at Commanders, but in other towns and around in the suburbs. We see it a lot when we have some type of unfortunate disaster. And so Hurricane Ida really kind of put a damper on things from a financial standpoint. We were kind of coming out of COVID and whatnot. We, of course, Orleans Parish has a little bit of different rules in our state in some ways this past year, but we were making a rebound. And then Ida hit, and that's really when New Orleanians show up. I mean, I feel like you really see the best come out in people, and everybody holds everybody up. And kind of one of the things that we did here at Commanders is, can't have everybody here. So our staffing is limited. Not all of our dining rooms are open. So, trying to figure out a way to get out in the community. And so we've been partnering actually with the Rotary Club of Homa and have been doing meals down the bayou in different communities. We are going again next Tuesday. We partnered with the first trip we took a couple months ago. We worked with Crystal Hot Sauce, kind of pulling in some more of our community partners and made that happen. And then our team, really still wanted to do more. Our chef, Meg Bickford, first female chef at Commanders history, we're super excited about. Her family's from down the bayou. And so there's such a need still in those communities, whereas New Orleans has largely returned to normal. So we committed to finding ways to get down there. And we're very fortunate that one of our good and longtime guests and clients here at Commanders, Longview Capital, has sponsored us to go down and cook more meals. And so we are very fortunate. And that's just another way that community comes together. I was at my children's school football game and happened to be talking to a dad who's one of the partners there, and he was like, we want to do something, and I was like, well, good, if you have the money, we've got the people, so it's been really great watching that come to fruition, and I think that's a great testament to the community that we have here.
One thing that you said, it was that y'all have a commitment to community, and I think that kind of is the key, because in building the Wealth Edit, we made that decision early on, like that was our commitment. Really, we've thought that people would want to come to the Wealth Edit and read our amazing articles that were so thoughtfully written. They did not. And what we found was like what women really want is a community. They want to have a community that's pushing them to learn more, to be better, where you can be open and honest and transparent. And but it's the same that's true for any business, or even us individually, like personally, like making a commitment to community. I was talking to somebody yesterday who's going through a divorce, and not that many people know it. And, she was saying that her gut was to retreat, to just keep her circle really small and, do that. And I agree with that. Obviously, we don't need to tell everybody all of our business, but at the same time, I said, don't lose that commitment to community, because those are the people that have gotten me through my life changes, going from being married to single, that's hard. And so I love what you said, though, because I think that is the key. It's just like, are we going to be committed to that in our business? Are we going to be committed to that in our friend groups or our personal lives, or however we want to do it? I just like that. And I think it's something that can carry over to our children as well, as women, because that's how we lift each other up. Okay. So I know you have, so do you have two daughters?
I do.
Two daughters. Okay. And yesterday, Lauren and I had the opportunity to talk to Camille a little bit before today. And you mentioned when we were talking about how, joining the Wealth Edit had a lot to do with your desire to learn more about personal finances, but also so that you could be a good teacher to your girls. And I loved that. So tell us a little bit about how you're thinking through teaching them and how you incorporate that into y'all's conversations.
Well, full disclosure, I have historically, which is why I'm here, not been great with money. And I don't know if that's more or less a self-imposed observation / title, because, I've just never felt confident in that area. Personally, I think I mentioned the other day at work, my past role in my last company, I managed over $3 million, in the marketing department. And so, but at home, it's different. My husband handles the finances largely, and we make joint decisions and things like that. But, I grew up with my mother handling the finances. My grandmother, both of my grandmothers handled the finances and their families. So I know that myself, a lot of the decisions I make as far as, work and roles that I am in the community, I have the mindset of, well, is this setting a good example for my daughters? My mom worked and both of my grandmothers worked, and that's just kind of what I was accustomed to. And were very successful in their careers. And so I think that made me who I was. And so I want them to see that in a positive light. And the same goes for the financial education and know-how. I think that my parents probably, and I'm so close to my parents, but the joke, obviously is, oh, blame everything on your parents. But they did not really, they sheltered me when it came to the finances, and I was very fortunate to be able, to not have to worry and have some of those worries that some people do at a younger age. But now at a later stage in life, I feel that it's put me at a little bit of a disadvantage, and not having that firm footing, especially, I don't know, I turned 40 and I just all of a sudden was like, oh my God, how are we going to live when we retire? And my husband's like, wait, that's 25 years away, Camille. And I'm like, I know, but, so it's things like that as planning. And also, I'm just by nature one of those kind of you're in the line at the grocery store, and I'm like an impulse purchaser. So those baskets in Whole Foods along the grocery store line.
Oh, they know exactly what they're doing.
Oh yeah, it's very, very intentional, very smart, great merchandising, but that's me. And so I think what I have found is learning more about and taking more personal responsibility has made me realize, okay, don't get the, whatever, 50 magazines or whatever the case may be. And, that will be put towards X for the future. So I think just even little things like that. And I know you'll have one coming up for the holidays.
Yes. We have the best checklist that Catherine Thurr, who's another member, this is really what we think is kind of magical about the Wealth Edit. We get the best ideas from our members. I mean, every woman, and that's really the point, is that every woman has something very special to contribute that they're already good at financially. So, I'm pretty good at investing. I'm terrible at daily cash flow, and I'm a financial advisor. So, it's just the way, it's okay to feel and sometimes I think as women, we say things we're like, oh gosh, I'm not very good at that. And where a man would be like, I'm awesome at that. Even if they aren't, they think that they are, or they're confident enough to say that they are from the beginning, or I handle this just because that's just how they're wired, I guess, for the most part. But I do think that there's something really special about just learning together about something that has historically and culturally in the South been not something that women are supposed to talk about. It's kind of awesome with our daughters, or at least my daughters, because now they'll like call me out on money inconsistencies. Like, I thought we were saving money. Like, why are we doing this? And it's like, yeah, that would be a confusing mixed message for a 10-year-old, or whatever it is. And so I think it's just to have those conversations. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to at least even have the awareness, since we were talking about children, with my children, to be like, yeah, that probably doesn't make much sense, does it? Like, this is why we do this. Or just kind of setting some money values with your kids, or like a family money plan. That's something when we're coming up with a guidebook, and one of the worksheets in there is a family money plan. And I think that that's a really good exercise to do, particularly with kids. Camille, I think ours you said you have one in 3rd grade, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do too. So I don't know. I just think there's a lot of neat things. And I love that women are wanting to be in community, to talk about money, to share so much about what they do. So we're really grateful to have you as a relatively new member of the Wealth Edit. So thanks for being a part of it. And thanks for coming on today and sharing your story. The one thing that we ask everyone who comes on Wealth Edit Wednesday, because part of why we share these women's stories every week, is that we really want to normalize conversations around money. We want to, every time we do one of these, I learned something that I didn't know. And, we really get to greater understanding of one another. It's hard to not relate once you've heard someone's story in some way, shape, or form. But we always like to ask our Wealth Edit Wednesday guests why they said yes to the Wealth Edit.
Well, I said yes to the Wealth Edit because I wanted to learn more about how to save money and plan better for the future for our family, and just become more confident in myself when it comes to finances.
Oh, so good.
Well, thank you so much, Camille, for coming on. And we look forward to seeing you in New Orleans. If anybody's listening to this, we are having a live pop-up event on Sunday in New Orleans at Sucre. And we are just so excited to be back in New Orleans. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, we are. Invite your friends, Camille. Yes. I bet you have cute friends like you.
Yeah.
I will.
Right. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Have
Bye.
a great day.
You too. Bye.